The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Let's pray. You, O God, have no body but ours, no hands, no feet on earth but ours. Our eyes are the eyes with which you look compassionately on this world. Ours are the feet with which you walk to do good. Ours are the hands with which you bless all the world. You, O God, do not vote, do not debate, do not amend, do not pass laws. It is our votes, our debates, our amendments, and our laws which should bring your justice to this earth. Give us strength, wisdom, and courage to attain this ideal. And above all, let justice roll like a river and righteousness like a never-failing stream. Amen.
The chaplain for today is Representative Andy Smith from District 25B, Rochester, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll.
Nice job, Andy. Great.
So what are we going to do about that? Because that was bullshit.
What Quan did?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Can we have, I mean, he would do that to any other only to our member that and it was against our rules.
Yeah, you're right. I'll talk to David.
Thank you. I figured we shouldn't. I'm like, we're like, should I go tell him? I'm like, that'll make me feel better. I was like, we were like, we gotta do it. I'm like, we can't. We gotta check in. I was like, let's see if I can do it. I'm like, no, let's go talk to Jim.
You know, what's that? Can't move. Is she? How, do we know how far away? That's what I was trying to figure out, was who her whip was. On her way like 5 minutes or?
The clerk will close the roll. Members, please take your conversations off of the House floor. A quorum is present. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 93rd Session, 2023, 30th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Monday, March 6, 2023.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is on your desk and online. We will act on all the other committee reports first and then act on the report for House File 2093 later. If there is no objection, with the exception of House File 2093, the reports will be adopted. Representative Koznick, do you object to something other than House File 2093?
Madam Speaker, if you could clarify when later is, later this morning?
Right after we have this motion.
Excellent.
All those in favor of the remainder of the reports being adopted, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The remainder of the reports are adopted. We will now act on House File number 2093. The clerk will report both the majority and minority reports. Pursuant to our rules, we must take action on the minority report first.
Majority Report, Hassan from the Committee on Economic Development, Finance, and Policy, to which is referred House File number 2093, an act relating to economic development. The bill was reported back with a recommendation that it be re-referred to the Committee on Capital Investment. Minority Report, we, the undersigned being a minority of the Committee on Economic Development, Finance, and Policy, recommend that House File number 2093 be amended as follows and be placed on the General Register.
Members have a copy of this on their desk.
Koznick moves that the minority report from the Committee on Economic Development, Finance, and Policy relating to House File number 2093 be substituted for the majority report and that the minority report be now adopted.
The member from Dakota, Representative Koznick, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, in front of us is a minority report in the Economic Development Committee. We had a bill that we discussed. The bill was looking to spend $100 million and offer it to a neighborhood group that was well-intentioned, but they don't even own the property. And so what we're offering here is to help the situation. The city of Minneapolis owns the property. The East Phillips neighborhood would like to do an urban garden and farm. The city of Minneapolis and the neighborhood have gone to mediation over this. It's a contaminated site, and the city has owned it for about 7 years. They have offered and to undertake to clean it up, meet environmental standards that have been approved by the MPCA and the Department of Agriculture. They have offered half of the site to the neighborhood. And what the minority report does is helps the neighborhood with some planning, design, supplies for the urban garden. We objected to the bill on the fact that the neighborhood doesn't even own the property, but through aggressive activism has kind of hijacked the legislature and then tried to intimidate the legislature for $100 million. And we have concerns with that because not only is it an enormous amount of money that could be spent throughout the state that I think most economic development projects should help statewide focus, but also the neighborhood association is asking for $100 million. The actual bill was $20 million, but they intended to offer an amendment to make it $100 million. But the association, the neighborhood group, hasn't even filed the required simple financial statements as charities do. The most recent statement that was filed with the Attorney General's office was in 2019. And so they're extremely in arrears of just simple reporting data. And so it's irresponsible, in our opinion, of the committee that have signed the minority report. It's irresponsible to award $100 million, $20 million, or even $2,000, in my opinion. But what the minority report would do is, once the neighborhood association agrees to the offer that the city of Minneapolis has graciously worked with them in good faith to give them half the property to improve the neighborhood, the other half the city will retain to improve their city works department, modernize it, but also the city's going to clean up the contaminated property. And the cleanup has been gone through the MPCA and, like I said, the Department of Agriculture to do that. And they've got about $14 million into the property, the city does, and they're prepared to do what needs to be done to actually clean up and remove the contamination. If I could yield to Representative Garofalo, who was the previous chair on the Jobs Committee, give us some background. You were the chair of the Jobs Committee that entailed economic development, and share with us your thoughts on, if you know a little bit of the history of the project, but if you think $100 million to a group that doesn't own the property in this situation is a wise financial decision for the state of Minnesota.
Representative Koznick, you may
Garofalo
not yield the floor to another member. You may ask if Representative Garofalo will yield to a question and ask him a question, or he can stand up and be recognized. Representative Koznick.
I was kind of getting to that. If Representative Garofalo would answer a question, is that the motion that you would like?
He will yield to a question. Representative Koznick.
Representative Garofalo, I'll restate the question. If you could talk about this project as you understand it, the little bit of the history from it, from chairing the committee previously, and what the minority report is proposing, and talk about if you think that's a more wise fiscal arrangement and also a more prudent manner to operate in.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Koznick, thank you for the question, and I'll answer your question, but at first I'd like to build a base for my argument in answering your question. First of all, I would start by saying I would request a roll call on the Koznick minority report.
Representative Garofalo requests a roll call. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. And I just want to caution members on the debate on the merits of the measure. There was a little bit of mention of words like hijack and intimidate, not proper. The issue before the House is the report, the minority report. Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'll take that. I'll take your advice under advisement. But I do think the tactics of those who are trying to pressure the Minneapolis City Council and those who are trying to pressure the legislature, I do think they are relevant and germane to the conversation. So I will take your advice, but I will temper my original remarks. Perhaps that'll be a better way to say it. So, Madam Speaker and members, activists out of control in Minneapolis disputes. That's not the words of Pat Garofalo or John Koznick or members of the House Republican Caucus. Those are the words of a Star Tribune editorial criticizing the intimidation and threats of violence coming from a select group of activists in Minneapolis. And on the same day that the Star Tribune wrote that editorial, the minority report before you is correcting a report that the DFL Majority Committee passed a $40 million bill to the same group that is referenced in this editorial. Okay? Activists out of control in Minneapolis disputes. So the behavior of these individuals outlined, again, publicly in the Minneapolis Star Tribune, in terms of police reports having to be called, acts of intimidation against elected officials.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Representative Long, please state your point of order.
Masons 101, the member is not confining his remarks to the debate, which is the minority report.
Representative Garofalo, stay on the line of inside of Masons. Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Majority Leader Long, these activists following the committee hearing intimidated staff of the House of Representatives. Representative Long. 2 staff members had to hide in a member's office for fear of the intimidation and profanity. Capitol Security had to be called to escort the individuals out of the building. That is incredibly relevant to the legislation that is before us and which side this body wants to be on. Okay? Do we want to be on the side of the out-of-control activists, those who are intimidating staff, intimidating elected officials, or do we want to stand up and say this is unacceptable? Now, I recognize that there is some behavior in some parts of our state where this is acceptable. It's never been okay in the Minnesota House of Representatives. Never. And it shouldn't be today. So let's take a look in response to your question. I lay that groundwork for you, Representative Koznick, in laying out the proposal that is before us today. The proposal in the majority report is for $40 million. Representative Koznick, you referenced the fact, no, the majority report was $40 million, $20 million. There's a lot of zeros, okay. The important thing is in committee they discussed $100 million, and now we find out that this proposal, which is getting a hearing in the Senate, the request is now $150 million. $150 million to a nonprofit that has not filed their appropriate tax work, a nonprofit that in their history has never dealt with this size of funds and appropriations, a recipe for misuse and corruption. And on top of that, the request they are making, they don't even own the land. The demolition that's going to be taking place on that property is dilapidated property. It has been approved by Tim Walz's MPCA. It has been approved by Tim Walz's Department of Agriculture. There is simply no merit to funding this bill. And yet we have a proposal that is now going to be amended in the Senate for $150 million. Madam Speaker and members, this is how we ended up with nonprofit fraud in Minnesota last year, without appropriate vetting, without appropriate review of documentation. Now, it should be noted, this is not the first time this proposal came to the legislature. Years ago, when Representative Koznick referenced it, when there was a Republican majority, we had a very enthusiastic member of the DFL who wanted us to take a look at this project for indoor agriculture. Indoor agriculture, that's what this is supposed to be for. And as part of that plan, this very, very persistent member of the DFL caucus got a hearing, we talked about it, and we agreed that we wanted to have further research on it. So we put a small amount of money into the bill to find out if we could get additional feedback beyond committee hearings from the public. And what we quickly found out, overwhelmingly in a broad bipartisan array of interests, is this proposal was nowhere near feasible, nowhere near justified, nowhere near allowed for public expenditure of funds. From a tracking standpoint, from a nonprofit standpoint, there is no business plan for the $150 million. And so what we're trying to do here today, what Representative Koznick is wisely doing, is offering you an alternative pathway to stop this runaway train. We're trying to offer you a pathway to say no to the bullying and intimidation that has taken place for staff and elected officials, to say no to a nonprofit that is nowhere near ready to scoop up $150 million, and to say no to what is becoming a growing problem in the state of Minnesota, which is the corruption and abuse of our nonprofits. So, Madam Speaker and members, I would ask you, and Representative Koznick, thank you for bringing this motion forward. That's the answer to your question, and I would hope that people will stand up and support your minority report today. Thank you.
Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Representative Garofalo. And I didn't really want to get into it necessarily, but it is important, and it brings up the point. Our staff works very hard. We all work very hard. But we are in the public eye, and sometimes things happen to us. People get in our face. It's not right, but we expected a little. But we need to end that. But when it comes to our staff, we should all be concerned, and that's not okay. Sometimes we get threatening emails. I think earlier this session, rightfully so, the speaker, or through the sergeant's office, I can't remember which one, sent a notice to us about a concerning email. And that was, I think we could all agree that it's probably somebody from the right side of the political spectrum, and that abuse should not be tolerated. But even on this bill, and I think some of the intimidation that the emails came in were probably geared to members in those districts that were affected with the bill. And Representative Perryman, you're on the committee, you've signed the minority report. Could you talk about the emails and then not just the email intimidation, but the conduct that was occurred during the committee hearing? And it is relevant because that is what happens, and it's not allowed. You know, if the minority wants to object to that, I'd like to hear it. Are you going to object to people getting in your faces, whether it's Republicans or Democrats? Are you going to object to that? I think Minnesota should hear.
Representative Koznick, please direct your debate through the presiding officer. And you may ask Representative Perryman to yield to answer a question, but a member cannot yield the floor to a series of members as a mechanism for controlling the floor. I'm happy to recognize any member who wants to stand up and debate this issue. You don't need to ask them questions for them to participate in the debate. And it violates our custom and usage to try to yield to a member. So Representative Koznick.
I appreciate that, Madam Speaker. Representative Perryman, if you could share, I would ask, what were the tenor of the emails that you received and the tenor of the conduct, if you would yield to this question? What was the conduct in the committee? And if you think that was appropriate and influenced the bill, if she would yield to that question.
Hold on just a minute, Representative Koznick. Members, the issue before the House is the adoption of the minority report. So you may speak to the merits of the minority report if you have concerns about safety or other incidents that have occurred in the State Office Building or the Capitol. Those can be directed to the Sergeant at Arms or Capitol Security. But the issue before the House is the minority report. If Representative Perryman would like to yield to a question about the minority report, I'm happy to recognize her. Representative Koznick, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'm trying to follow protocol, but it is important, and I know you guys don't want to necessarily address it, but it's got to do with the bill.
No, that's a clear violation
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
of Masons, so you can't go to motives. Representative Koznick.
Madam Speaker, would Representative Perryman yield to a question on the bill and the advocacy of it?
She will yield. Representative Koznick.
Representative Perryman, if you could share with the body your thoughts on this bill and why the minority report is a good or a better solution to the conflict that occurred in the committee and the concerns with this project.
Representative Perryman, to the minority report.
Thank you, Speaker. The day that this happened after committee, the committee ended, and once the committee ended, a gentleman came up and started
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Representative Long, please state your point of order.
Masons 95, when yielding the floor to debate, the debate should be connected with the subject before the House, and the subject is the minority report and the substance of the minority report.
Representative Perryman, the debate right now is on the minority report. We can discuss whether a privilege of the House is appropriate to speak to some conduct that occurred, but right now what we're debating is the minority report and the merits of the content of the minority report. Representative Perryman.
Thank you, Speaker. Referring to the minority report and the language in it reflects to me of what occurred the day of the committee. Am I safe there? So,
Representative Perryman, no. Just saying the words minority report doesn't make it related to the minority report. The conduct itself is a different matter that can be addressed in this body through a different mechanism. Right now we are debating the minority report, and any conversation about conduct that occurred in the hearing is not allowed in this discussion. Representative Perryman, to the content of the minority report.
Thank you, Speaker. The minority report is accurate, it's appropriate, and it should be entered into the registry, and I support it fully, and I thank Representative Koznick for bringing it forward and the rest of the group that has signed on it. Thank you.
Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If Representative Igo would yield a question, and he's a member of the committee, has signed the committee report, would Representative Igo yield a question?
Representative Koznick, I'm not going to let you control the floor by asking a series of members questions. If other members would like to be recognized, I'm happy to take a list from your staff or for folks to just pop up, but this has gone too far.
Well, thank you, Madam.
Would you like to cede the floor to another member? Representative Koznick.
Members, we have a variety of members on our side that support this motion, this minority report. I would encourage you to help this community, this neighborhood. They have serious concerns. The city of Minneapolis has worked with them. Not everybody has liked the solutions. But this is a 6-acre parcel, and the city has given them about 2.8 or 3 acres of the property. They've offered to clean it up. Let them have exclusive development rights on the property. The legislature really shouldn't be that involved in it, in my opinion, and that was stated in the committee. In the minority report, it provides this neighborhood an opportunity to have 3 acres that they want to garden and provide more natural food. I think that's great. But that is a lot different than what was offered in the original bill, intended to give $100 million and perhaps $150 million in the Senate version. And so if the neighborhood can agree to this, it's in the control of the city of Minneapolis. It'll improve the neighborhood. It'll allow the city to provide better services for their residents, but not at $100 or $150 million cost to taxpayers. So members, I encourage your support of the minority report, and I appreciate your time, and I think this is a reasonable, sensible solution.
Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move to table the minority report. We have committees that need to meet, and if this House File 2093 comes back before the floor, we will have plenty of time for discussion then.
Madam Speaker, I request a roll call on the motion to table.
Representative Garofalo requests a roll call. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. The motion to table is not debatable. The clerk will take the roll on the motion to table.
Madam Speaker, point of order.
Representative Nash, please state your point of order.
Madam Speaker, I believe I heard you say that you would recognize any one of our members that rose to be recognized to speak to the minority report. I rose, Representative Igo rose. I think some others have actually put their name in for consideration. And I'm just wondering why we're now moving from a recognition of the desire of the minority to be recognized and debate the minority report, why you've changed your mind.
Representative Nash, that's not a point of order. That's an attempt to engage the speaker in the discussion. The clerk will take the roll on the motion to table. The clerk will close the roll. There being 70 ayes and 61 nays, the minority report is laid on the table. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move to table the majority report to House File 2093.
Representative Long moves to table the majority report. Is anybody requesting a roll call on that?
Madam Speaker, I will request a roll call on that. And
Representative Nash requests a roll call. Are there 15 hands? Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. This motion is not debatable. The clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will close the roll. There being 129 ayes and 2 nays, the majority report on House File 2093 is also laid on the table. Second reading of House Files.
Second reading House File number 197.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 375.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 1100.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 1126.
Second
Second
reading.
reading House File 1440.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 1511.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 1555.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 1784.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 1960.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 2175.
Second reading. Introduction of House Files. The following House Files have been offered for introduction today. The clerk will report the House Files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 2679 through 2753.
First reading House Files 2679 through 2753. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Long from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bills to be placed on the calendar for the day for Thursday, March 9th, 2023, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bills: Senate File number 667, House File numbers 1200, and House File number 1104.
Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we'll take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
That's right. Senate Concurrent Resolution number 3, a Senate Concurrent Resolution adopting deadlines for the 2023 regular session. Long moves that Senate Concurrent Resolution number 3 be now adopted.
Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, this sets the joint deadlines between the House and the Senate for the 2023 regular session, and I'd urge member support.
Discussion on the motion to adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution number 3. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The resolution is adopted. Announcements. I believe the member from Hennepin, Representative Bonner, you have an announcement.
I do. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to acknowledge to all the members that today is, in fact, International Women's Day, March 8th. Quite commonly, International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks the call to action for accelerating the quest, for women's equality. International Women's Day has occurred for well over a century, with the first International Women's Day gathering in 1911, supported by over 1 million people. Today, the International Women's Day belongs to all groups collectively everywhere across the globe. As many of you may have noticed, this chamber has continued to get more and more diverse and continued to have record numbers of women in the Senate and the House. We want to acknowledge that. We have made great progress in making bills that really accommodate and celebrate and address the issues relating to women and women's equality. But that said, I want to acknowledge also that it has been 100 years since women won the right to vote, and yet we are still working towards equality. In that vein, today there will be at 1 o'clock in room 317B a gathering of folks to celebrate International Women's Day. I encourage you to do that. Also to visit with folks outside the chamber wearing their green and purple in celebration of the day. Take lots of photos and share those on your social media. Thank you, everyone.
Representative Bonner, are there snacks at the 1 o'clock gathering?
That is a very good question, and I do not know the answer to that
We'll
question.
expect an email on that. Any further announcements? Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, March 9th, 2023.
Representative Long moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, March 9th, 2023. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Long moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until Thursday, March 9th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m.